Super happy to announce that we're launching an other sports video series here on the channel. We're covering the top 25 sales along with some of the other popular videos like non-sports, baseball, football, and basketball. What I define as other sports is anything outside the big four in North America. So we'll be sharing some cards from cricket or soccer, football, or rugby, golf, and I'm going to also include wrestling as part of other sports. And there's going to be other niche sports as well that will make their way into this series. Now, the data isn't going to be perfect for the first few episodes, so if I do miss some larger sales, please let me know and I can update my query and then our process on how to build out these slides for the videos. But regardless, let's take a look at the top sales for our first episode. All right, let's get started on our other sports. Rules, no big four sports, 2000 or earlier. Wrestling, I consider a sport. No duplicated cards, autos and variants are fine, and graded and raw cards. So we're going to start off with Royce Gracie from 1996 Gong magazine. This card in particular has a PSA 8 grade. It is hand cut from the magazine. The sold price on this was $1,275. All right, we have the fifth Beatle, George Best, 1964 Barrett, card number 29. This achieved an SGC 3 grade. I do believe this is his first card. If I am wrong, please let me know down below because I am not an expert on soccer football cards out of Europe or South America, and it is something I do want to learn over time. Regardless, this copy over here sold for $1,370. Arden Senna, a really popular F1 driver. This is from 1984 Scratch and Play, produced by Panini in particular. This was a raw sale. It sold for $1,390, which is about the going rate of a PSA 5. 1987 Topps WWF stickers, Hulk Hogan card number 2. This one sold for $1,424. PSA 9 you can get for $50. A pretty big multiplier between the 9 and 10, but that is something that you'll see with wrestling cards. There's a ton of registry collectors and they're super passionate. So when you get the high grades, you will see a pretty big multiplier. All right, 1992 Muhammad Ali autograph. It says 1964 KO on the card with the inscription. Auto has a 10 grade. The card itself is just authentic, and this one sold for $1,450. We have a 1965 Arnold Palmer. A lot of people will throw the rookie card classifier with this one. What I will say is kind of interesting on these cards is the backs are going to be actually of a different player within. It's like a kind of like an album for these in particular. You'd cut these out, and this one in particular is sold for $1,500. All right, Dale Earnhardt, 1999 Press Pass autograph. The auto has an authentic grade. The card itself has a 10. Looking at the auto, I would say it was a good chance at a 9 or a 10. So I don't know why you would only get the 10 on the card itself. It sold for $1,500. We'll have another Dale card a little bit later in the video. Apologize if I mispronounce this in advance, but a 1958 of Garincha. The sold price on this one in a PSA 8 grade was $1,631. I do know he's more of a popular player, so if I did mispronounce it, please let me know so that way I can fix it for future videos. All right, Eddie Guerrero. When we did the wrestling series here on the channel, this card was featured quite a bit, and this card in particular is a PSA 8 grade, part of a classic wrestling autograph set, and this copy over here sold for $1,700. The backs on these cards chip also quite a bit, so achieving a high grade can be tough. This autograph itself wouldn't be a super high grade just because it is cut off of the card, and you can see it is a little bit streaky. So I would assume that this auto would be an 8. I'm not an autograph expert with grades, but just from the stuff that I've seen in these videos, going to card shows and analyzing auction houses. 1998, The Rock card has a 6. The auto itself is a 7. And this one sold for $1,820. 1982 Ric Flair from the classic 1982 wrestling set. This has a PSA 8 grade. Card number 27 in Series A. It sold for $1,850. In the 14th spot, we have a Dwayne Johnson back when he played football in college for Miami. Because he is more known as a wrestler rather than a football player is the reason why this is in the list. This card went crazy during the pandemic, and it's gone down quite a bit. And this BGS 9.5. With all 9.5s except for centering, which has a 9, it sold for $1,924. Also in the set is going to be Ray Lewis as well as Warren Sapp, but they would be featured particularly in the football video rather than this other sports. All right, we have a 1960 Pele. Looks like it's part of a card game. This has achieved a PSA 8 grade, and this copy over here sold for $1,950. All right, we have a 1991 Zinedine Zidane, and this BGS 6 sold for $1976. I do believe this was one of the cards that there's a bunch of fakes out in circulation, at least for vintage soccer. So be careful if you are purchasing this. There's a lot of resources online, I believe, like Net54 or the Soccer Discord, where people talk about the counterfeits that are on the vintage sticker market. All right, we have a 1936 Reemsta of Jesse Owens. Now, this card in particular is not hard to find, but once you get to high grades, like a 9 or a 10, they can be pretty tough. That's why this one sold for $2,000. Jesse Owens does have a lot of tough cards out of 35 or 36, and I do hope to see them in these videos. Now let's jump into a few honorable mentions. So up first, we have a Jimmy Carroll from the Allen Ginter N28, which was 1887. This in an SGC 7 sold for $530. Then we have a Billy King from 1970 Panini in a PSA 7. This sold for $620. We have a 1994 Undertaker with an autograph on it. Card has a PSA 8 grade from Action Pack. This sold for $765. Pele, 1958 Swedish. This one sold for $950. Another hand cut card. I believe there's 2 players for each of these on here side to side. Sometimes you'll see them graded together. Sometimes you'll see them graded separately like this. 1997 Browns Floyd Mayweather, one of the first Floyd cards out there. The sold price on this in SGC 9, $1,100. Another card to be very careful for because there's a ton of these fakes that are coming out of Etsy. 1971 Jack Nicklaus. This comp kind of surprised me because I thought a few months ago 8s were selling between like $1,300 and $1,500, but a 6 on this now sold for $1,100. The Barrett set from 1971 is loaded. There's quite a few stars out there to collect outside of Nicholas, and I think a few of them will make this series here in the future. We're going to do back-to-back 1900 Copes golfers. First, we have a Harold Hilton in a PSA 7 grade. There's only 5 graded higher. This is a set that there are quite a bit of registry collectors on, and it's just a very classic golf set. I have a few of these in my collection, and I really like the design on them. The sold price on this 7 was $1,120. We have Tom Morse Jr., which is probably one of the marquee names in the set, easily top 3. This in a PSA 3 sold for $1,125. 1996 Merlin's David Beckham Premier Gold. This in a PSA 10 sold for $1,175. Kahanamoku. This is, I believe, from 1913. This one sold raw for $1,234, which is about the going rate of an SGC 3. Looking over the card, obviously I don't have high quality scans right over here. Maybe something's going on in that corner, but otherwise it looks really, really nice. But yeah, it's a very tough card to find and a super valuable one as well. Something that I expect will typically make these videos when it does sell. We have a Jack Nicklaus autograph. This wasn't even authenticated, and it sold for $1,250. This is what, the 1973 Panini, if I remember correctly. And yeah, we're going to jump into our top 10. We're going to start off with the 1958 Pele. This sold for $2,249, but if you do go down 1 grade, it's about a $1,600 card. We have Andre the Giant in a BGS 8 slab. This one sold for $2,249. Andre's tough to get in this set because he's card number 1. And if you've ever seen how these were packaged on here, they're packaged in order sequentially and with Andre at the top. So it usually absorbed a lot of the damage, in particular with these packs. So that's why there's a bit of a premium on Andre cards beyond just being popular. Okay, so normally in these videos, I try to have only solo cards within the top 25. This one in particular, well, I do know the purchaser of this lot. They'll leave a comment down below talking about the prices on each of these individual 3 cards. But my assumption is most of the value is going to be based around the Pele. These are going to be very tough to source. Also, on the basketball video, covered, I believe, also an SGC 3 of Wilt Chamberlain that sold for about $1,200. This lot of 3 sold for $2,500. All right, another 1958 Pele. This one sold for $2,700, card 109. 1994 Max Medallions Redemption, numbered to 999 of Dale Earnhardt. This one sold for $28.33. It's a Pop 23 and a PSA 10. A PSA 9 is about $800. We're jumping into the top 5 now, and we have Andre the Giant Monster Rusmov over here. A Japanese issue, hand cut, in an SGC 4. This one sold for $3,250. Number 4 is a 1932 U.S. Caramel card, number 3 of Bobby Jones. 1.5 grade, which seems pretty brutal for this card because it looks nice from the front. And I do know PSA has been grading a lot of vintage harder, at least the last few years or so. Unless there's a crease that's not showing, I'm not looking at the back, obviously, and I don't see the card in person. This looks very tough for a 1.5, but it sold for $3,400. This caramel set also is full of baseball players, and there's another caramel set that looks like this for presidents in 1932. I don't know if that 32 dating is correct for the presidents, though. I really think it's a 1933 set, but it's so ingrained in the hobby, it's always going to be labeled as 32. 1982 Hulk Hogan PSA 7 with an autograph being a 10. This one sold for $3,550. This set was featured a lot this episode. Just extremely popular. Let's jump into number 2, which is a 1960 Journal of Cassius Clay. These are hand cut cards, and sold for $5,525. There's 74 graded higher than this PSA 6. The top sale for other sports, 1985 Topps WWF Hulk Hogan in a PSA 10 for card number 16. It's a Pop 2 and a PSA 10. The last PSA 9 sold for $450. This 10 sold for $19,000. Thanks, guys, for checking out this video. There's no end slide on this one. I probably should have made it, but regardless, this is the first episode. I'm sure I did miss some sales, so please let me know what I missed so that way I can make a better query for next month. Again, it's a work in progress. I definitely need to learn some of these South American sets as well. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. See you in another video.